Hey guys, it's Mrs. Barker here. You should have pulled up for this review before taking the CFA. You should have pulled up this PowerPoint in addition to this video. So it just is called Scatter Plots and Trend Lines. You should have this pulled up in one tab and then the video open in another tab just like this. So we can go through and we can review the scatter plots and trend lines before you jump on and take the CFA later today, okay? If you don't have both of these pulled up right now, go ahead and pause this video and go pull up the PowerPoint for you to follow along in as well as this video. All right, we are going to just go over what we learned before we left on Friday. So the last couple things that we looked at. The very first slide says scatter plots. When we're looking at scatter plots, we're looking at bivariate data, which means we're looking at data presented by two variables. In this example here, we've got study time in minutes and this percentage. They call it a mark. This just means their grade, their score for a test. So we're looking at these two variables, and we have these data points. So these all represent data that was collected from different people. So clusters are groups of points. Any points that are kind of gathered together, those would be considered clusters. We've got a large cluster here, maybe a couple smaller clusters down here. And then our outliers are single points that don't fit with the rest of the data. So I need you to, in just a second, you're going to pause the video and you're going to do something on your slide. So using the shape tool, put a rectangle around the outlier in the graph above. There's an outlier in this graph. So you're going to go over to your graph. You're going to be on this slide. You're going to click on this button up here to make a shape, and you're going to grab a rectangle. Using that rectangle, you just drag and pull it. You are going to create a rectangle to go around whichever point here is an outlier. So go ahead and pause the video and take a couple seconds to do that, and then come back once you're done. All right, you should have paused your video and put a box around the outlier. You should have put a box around this point. This guy, he's not really with the rest of the group. Since this point's away, that's what makes it an outlier. Okay, next slide. Associations. There are three different associations that we talk about, and so I've got a graph to show each one. As a reminder, arrangements of the graph are what we call associations. So looking at this graph, we're just looking at a shape. So a positive slope association looks like a positive slope. So as one variable is increasing, the other variable is increasing. Now, just because there's an outlier doesn't mean that there's not an association. Okay, we can still have an association with an outlier. So in this example, this would be a positive association. If we were to draw a line through this graph and try and give it the best trend line we could, maybe it would look something like that. That's a positive slope, so that's a positive association. As one variable increases, the other increases. So as the study time increases, the grade or the percentage on the exam increases. Okay, so this is our positive association. The next one is our negative association. Our negative association looks like a negative slope. It looks like a downhill slope when you're going from left to right. We're looking at as one variable is increasing, as the x variable is increasing, our y variable is actually decreasing. So as one's increasing, the other's decreasing. So in this example, as the consumption of cholesterol increases, cholesterol is not very good for you. So as the cholesterol consumption increases, the life expectancy decreases. So if you are not eating very healthy and the cholesterol is increasing, the life expectancy goes down. So you're not expected to live as long. And our last association. This association looks like nothing, and we call it no association. So no association just looks like random points scattered across the graph. There's no relationship between any of the points. In this example here, we've got the grade, that the students are in versus how many siblings there are. There's no association between what grade you're in and how many siblings you have. Just because you're in a specific grade doesn't mean you have a specific amount of siblings. And so that's what a no association graph looks like. The points are going to be scattered anywhere. You wouldn't really know where to draw a trend line. It would be pretty confusing. So that's going to be our no association. Speaking of trend lines, let's review what trend lines are. A trend line is a line that best represents the data of this scatter plot. The point of the trend line is for it to be close to as many different data points as it can. It wants to be kind of in the best middle that it can be in. It wants to be as close to as many data points as possible. So looking at trend lines, we can make predictions. These points represent actual data. So these here, these are all actual data numbers. These are numbers that were collected. The line, on the other hand, is just almost like the best average. You can think of it like that. And that just represents a prediction. So if we were to say, on average, using the trend line, if we went 4.5 miles or 4.5 miles, how many minutes would that be? If we wanted to look at that, we would come to 4.5 here, so right in between 4 and 5, and we would go up to the trend line and we would say, okay, right here on the trend line, we've got, it kind of looks like it crosses right here, right at about 45 minutes. So that's our prediction based on the trend line. That doesn't mean that that data point was taken in real life. That's just our prediction. These points are what were taken in real life. All right. Let's continue looking at making these predictions. We want to follow the prompt or follow the question and then choose the best point. So like we did above with the trend line, we followed the line to see what Y point it crossed at. Now what we are going to do is we're going to look at these points and we're going to say what's the best prediction for Y when X is a specific number. So looking here, what is the best prediction for Y when X is 72? So you're going to come down here to 72. And you're going to go up and you're going to kind of give your best guess. What would Y be if X is 72? So right now, I want you to pause the video and I want you to go over to your slide. You should be down here on making predictions. You're going to again click on the shape making tool and you're going to choose a circle or an oval. And you're going to draw that oval around either Y equals 61 or Y equals 96. And you're just going to draw your circle and then you'll place it around Y equals 61 or Y equals 96, whichever one is the best prediction, okay? So go ahead, pause your video and go do that. All right, you should have paused your video and put a circle around the Y coordinate. That was going to be the best prediction. If we go to 72, we're kind of looking right around here. If I was to go up here, these are kind of where most of the points are. They're kind of in between 55 and 65. So I would say that Y equals 61 is going to be the best prediction for when Y is 72. 96 is way up here. There's not really any points up here. So that's why this is going to be our best prediction. Here's a challenge for you. Using the drawing tools on this one, on your Google slide, you can create a line, and if you would like, I challenge you to see if you can draw your best fitting trend line or your best trend line on the graph, okay? Just give it your best shot to give the best trend line you can. So go ahead and pause your video and go do this now. All right, you should have drawn a trend line. You should have tried your best to do a trend line. It should look something along those lines. If it's not perfectly like that, that's okay. You're just giving it your best effort for drawing that trend line. All right, you guys, that's the review. Before you go on and take the CFA, I would like you to go on and practice on these IXL practices. That way you can keep track of how well you've been doing. Once you click on a link in your Google Slides over here, these are actually links that you can click on, okay? When you click on a link to go to these IXL practices, go ahead and highlight it once you reach a SMART score of 80, just because then you can keep track of where you're at. And then once you've gone through these and you're feeling confident, go to your Google Classroom and take the CFA. There should be a CFA posted there. The access code should be posted with the CFA. And go ahead and go give your best effort on the CFA. This will be going on your grades, so make sure that you feel nice and confident after practicing before you jump on and take the CFA. All right, you guys, thanks for watching the video. Good luck with your practicing.